Welcome to Thanksgiving edition, SEC Football Live here on the 440 Sports Network and that SEC podcast. He is Michael Bratton. SEC Mike, I am Braden Gall, and we do appreciate all of you jumping into the comments today. If you are listening in audio form, of course, everywhere you get your podcasts, SEC Football Live, please give us a nice review, or a mean one, I guess. Just leave us 5 stars either way. We do appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It's Michael and I's first season together, and we do appreciate you guys hanging out with us. So if you want to jump into the comments, as usual, they are open and ready to go. And my feelings are going to be just fine, Michael, no matter what they say to me. Working on this show with you has built up thick skin. Hosting Feinbaum, thick skin. Working on SiriusXM and in college football for 20 years, thick skin. Comes with the territory. So I hope everybody has a wonderful and amazing Thanksgiving holiday. Really the theme of the show today, because I hate narrative talk in the middle of football season, because that's what the offseason is for. We have 8 months to talk about narratives. That's what we have. But this week's games are going to dictate what all of those narratives may or may not be in the offseason. So a lot of conversation. And frankly, big old bowls of steaming, heaping, piling, spoiled football food this weekend, because you have 3 or 4 games that have playoff implications. You have a couple of teams fighting for bowl eligibility. You have huge rivalry games. You have a Heisman Trophy that could get spoiled this weekend. So this weekend is entirely and exclusively about spoiling shit. And frankly, Arkansas is a part of this as well, because frankly, Arkansas bringing Sam Pittman back, I think a little bit of a surprise to both of us. But if he were to go out and lose and get destroyed by Missouri, I don't know how the front office at Arkansas, how nice their holiday would be. So we've got a lot of stuff. Ole Miss and Missouri would have 2 of the greatest seasons, among the best seasons in the history of their school. Those seasons could be spoiled this weekend, especially if we had a 12-team playoff, but certainly could still be spoiled this weekend. So lots of stuff to do today. I want to start with Auburn, because obviously that's what we have to do. We have to start with Auburn, because they're going to play significantly better against Alabama. Alabama is playing for a playoff spot. If they keep winning, they are probably going to get into the playoff. Auburn has a chance to change all of that. However, they just got boat raced by New Mexico State at home. How concerned are you, big picture? Because I have a take about Hugh Freeze I want to float out there and see what you think. But this is the first big one that I want to discuss, because Auburn's coming off the worst performance of maybe any SEC team in the entire conference all season. 200 yards total offense against New Mexico State at home, completely dominated. Now they're going to play Alabama at home. How do they get offense? And the narratives are going to come out of this game about Hugh Freeze's upside, about Bama's playoff chances. This is obviously, the Egg Bowl is huge, but the Iron Bowl this year, a lot at stake right now between these 2 coaches.
Yeah, I guess so. Anything what's at stake for Hugh Freeze? I mean, win or lose. I mean, winning, I guess, yeah, but I mean, they're going to get hammered, Braden. I
tend to agree with you.
I think people got a little hyped up because they beat. Let's look at I'll throw up their schedule. I don't know if I have these. This is the updated version. Yeah, I do. Okay,
yeah, it's pretty good.
Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas. I mean, those are probably the 3 worst in the SEC, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think Auburn is probably just a 1 notch above them. Now, you win all those games, so maybe that's unfair, but and particularly the way you beat Arkansas, I think that had people fooled as to where, hey, maybe we got something building here, because to your point, New Mexico State just whipped them up and down the field. It was a competitive game for a little while, but at no point in the second half did I think Auburn was going to make a comeback. One team came to win, one team didn't. And sure, there was probably some look ahead factor, but if you're losing by multiple touchdowns to New Mexico State at home, I think it's just going to be worse this weekend against Alabama. So I don't really think, and I think anybody giving Hugh Freeze a hard time, and I'm not obviously a fan of him personally, but anyone giving him a hard time for getting his ass kicked by Alabama, I don't think they're being very realistic.
Oh, I don't think anybody's going to do that. I think it is. What happened last Saturday is completely unacceptable. Year 1, rebuild, not a rebuild, doesn't matter. It's completely unacceptable. And if you are Hugh Freeze, and this is unfortunately the way the world works, and you know this, when people like Sam Pittman, I think is employed because people like him. I think he still has a job because people are like, you know what? We really like this guy. We want to help him do well. We want to give him a chance to work his way out of it. And they kept Sam Pittman because when you are a good person and you treat people well, you get the benefit of the doubt. When you are the opposite of that, you do not. And getting destroyed by New Mexico State is unacceptable. I don't care what the situation is at Auburn. Now, again, I think they'll play better this weekend because I think there's clearly a look-ahead factor. And the way they played well against Georgia and the way they played well against Ole Miss is the same exact thing. They got a few turnovers, shortened the field, capitalized on a few turnovers, and kept the game magically somehow close. But I think the larger story here is if they get destroyed by Alabama, which again is what I would pick. It's only a 14-point spread, but let's say Bama covers. Anything happens in this game, I get it. It's crazy. Texas A&M is in the middle of a coaching search, and Urban Meyer is the only name that guarantees you probably a national championship caliber football team. But it comes with a lot of baggage. What I never have understood about the Hugh Freeze conversation is you get all the baggage of Urban Meyer and none of the guaranteed upside. This guy has never won big, ever. It's never happened. So to me, what this is doing is New Mexico State shows me the same shit he did when he lost to Memphis at Ole Miss after beating Alabama. He is not an elite national championship caliber football coach. Now he's got a chance to end all of that conversation. Like I said, change the narrative, spoil Alabama's playoff year, right? Because right now they're on track to potentially get into the playoff. That could all change if they get a few turnovers, shorten the field a little bit, play good defense at home, and do something crazy. That is the formula, the way they played against Georgia and Ole Miss.
Yeah, you said he's not Urban Meyer, but he's got the back. He's Gus Malzahn with baggage. That's what he's always been, and it's kind of what you get. You know,
I would take that at Mississippi State.
He'll pull an upset or two, but he also gets upset all the time, and you know it's pretty routine with him.
I'm only using Urban Meyer as a comparative bullet point here. Like I'm not saying he is not taking the job or they're not interested. I'm not saying no one. Here's the other thing. Not one of these jobs, other than Jeff Traylor actually interviewing via Zoom or whatever with Texas A&M, like nobody. Do you think the university is giving the media the names of their candidates right now? Are you guys out of your mind? Like, none of these names are real. All of these names come from agents, and they come from assistant coaches, and they come from. Here's the other thing. Plains folks are not going to campus. Okay, I just want to let you know. If you see a coach visiting your campus, that's the first sign he's not taking your job. It's not happening. Like,
what about Jed Fish? That's the new rumor. You like that? Would you like that?
I had a lot of doubts about that hire at Arizona, so I might not be the best person to ask because he's overachieved in that situation. He's figured it out, but that was not an overwhelming hire at Arizona. There's a lot of people that had a lot of questions and doubts about that. The only reason I'm using Urban Meyer is that he sort of has this mythical upside and personal baggage, but like a track record of success. And so I think that's the only reason I use him as a comparative sort of variable here. But either way, Alabama has a national championship and a playoff to play for, and Auburn has nothing to lose. That's a dangerous spot. And there's a lot of teams this week, Michael, in that situation.
Yeah. Basically the entire conference. And these are perfect trap games, I guess you could say. I mean, even like Georgia going to Georgia Tech, which
that might be the only one that's not.
I think it is, man. I mean,
Georgia Tech is playing better, but 24 points. Quickly, I want to answer Junkyard Dog. What about Chip Kelly? Chip Kelly's about to get fired by UCLA.
Didn't he just win a big game?
He's about to get fired by UCLA. So no, the answer is no. But again, if you see a media member report or a local radio host report, they do not have real scoop. Okay, like the board of directors for Texas A&M and Ross Bjork have not even done enough conversations to even know who their own finalists are yet. This is all just speculation. At least we on this show tell you that it's speculation. And it's a very distinct and direct sausage making process when it comes to coaching search speculation. It's coaching search firms mixed with agents, mixed with assistant coaches, mixed with media, all of whom are scratching each other's backs trying to get their guy hired. That's what this is all about. So anyway,
I think I might pick Georgia Tech now.
Okay. That's the only one that I wasn't going to ask you about, so I'm glad we got that one out of the way. Although Georgia Tech has improved, they've got to a bowl eligible. The other two playoff implication games are very winnable for the SEC in a rivalry situation in which they could knock a team out of the playoff. And Louisville at home, and we're going to talk. You and I have spent a lot of time on this show this year talking about Stoops. Louisville's a 7-point favorite at home. They technically still have they're a one-loss Power 5 team. So in theory, could they play their way into the playoff conversation? It is possible. Obviously not with a loss to Kentucky. We'll get to the Florida State thing, but I am curious because this is all about narrative setting for the offseason. If Kentucky finishes with a loss, a couple losses in a row, lost to a rival, lost to Shane Beamer, offense is struggling, and they go into the season 6-6. Number one, knocking off your rival and ending their potential playoff hopes would be a huge move for Mark Stoops. I think Kentucky fans are spoiled. I think that's what's happened
with all that bourbon.
That's true. I mean, I'm a little jealous of that part, but I think. I guess I know that you have a skewed perspective of, like, I know where you stand on Mark Stoops, so I'm not.
Why is it skewed though? If it's
not a fair question. Okay, do you know how many 8 wins in 108 years of playing football?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many 8-win seasons Kentucky's had in 108 seasons of playing football?
I do not know.
12. Mark Stoops has like 4 of them.
Okay,
they've had 4.
Can you run down his
seasons.
Non-conference schedule for those seasons?
Outside. Well, that's not what Kentucky should not be scheduling Michigan. Like they should not be scheduling Michigan. That's not what Kentucky should do. If I'm Vanderbilt, schedule fucking nobody so I can get to a bowl game. Outside of the pandemic year, which you throw out all the time, they've had 8 consecutive winning seasons? 7 consecutive winning seasons?
In SEC play or just overall, right?
Overall.
But so we're just essentially handing them 3.5 wins a year, right? With the way they schedule. And to your point, that's smart. That's the way they should do it.
Exactly. And you play Louisville every single season from a Power 5 school or Power 5 conference.
But we can at the same time say, well, my God, look how many 8 wins he's getting when 3 to 4 automatic wins in there, given the resources and the players that he has now.
I think Kentucky is spoiled and does not understand. I'm not saying that the end of the season isn't disappointing. It is. It should be. And if they lose to Louisville and they fall to 6-6, that's not as good as I think they should have been this year. But at the end of the day, I think it's the same thing with Tennessee being 8-4 when they destroy Vanderbilt. There's a bigger picture you have to sort of keep your eye on. And there is no coach in modern Kentucky history that has ever done anything that Mark Stoops has done, ever. Bear Bryant is the only one that's comparable, and that was before integration. So I just think 7 consecutive winning seasons, not counting the COVID year, I think Kentucky fans should be okay with that. It doesn't mean you can't ask for more. I think it's okay to say, hey, I want to see a little bit more. But they've only had 4 10-win seasons in the history of their program, and he's got 2 of them. I just think having a little perspective is more important. I don't want to hear Mark Stoops' hot seat. You said on your show today that he would not get hired by anybody else. He'd be hired in 2 seconds to be a head coach somewhere else. No,
that's not true. And every time you hear, and I'm factoring in his salary, so
it's a little much.
Who is A&M calling him and say, hey, you want to? Will you come down here for $10 million a year?
No.
I don't even think Mississippi State is dumb enough to do that. And he would be a massive upgrade over Arnett. I'm not suggesting that, but no one's touching him because he's not leaving because of what he's paid, and no one's going to touch him at that figure. So they're stuck, I feel like.
Oh, shucks, Kentucky, the greatest football you've ever had. Oh, shit. What a terrible place to be. Give me a break with that crap, dude. He's an Iowa alumni. He wants the Iowa job, and Iowa would hire him in 2 seconds. Michigan State's going to snoop around a little bit. If I was Mississippi State, I would hire a different type of person, like not a 12-year veteran. That's not what I would do. If I'm Stoops, I'm not leaving for Mississippi State. It's a tougher job. And I have, frankly, a little bit more control over my athletic director right now at Kentucky, although it doesn't seem like it. So he would be hired he would be hired so fast, just like Jimbo Fisher's going to be a head coach faster than anybody realizes. All these guys, they all get jobs. Gus Malzahn got fired, got paid $20+ million, and now he's a Power 5 coach. I agree that if they lose to Louisville, it sets it sets a narrative for Kentucky in the offseason that they kind of crumbled down the stretch again. And that would be true. And he needs to do better next year. But this conversation about Mark Stoops, Kentucky not. If you are a Kentucky fan and you are considering moving on from Mark Stoops, I got nothing for you, dude. I got nothing for you.
Maybe he should blame the fans again. That'd be a smart move.
I'm doing it for him. And I'll apologize for him too. So, other one, Florida State. By the way, keep an eye on Jawar Jordan. If you don't watch Louisville, Jawar Jordan is fantastic.
What position is he?
Elite running back for Louisville. Jeff Brom is a brilliant offensive mind. It's always been a good game between these two, but now I think the coaching quality has been upped by Louisville, and there's a lot to play for. Louisville at home, one-loss team, top 10 in the country, only a 7-point favorite. Crazy. Yeah, 3 straight. I know all the records, guys. 3 straight seasons of building from Joker Phillips.
Yeah, this is a top 10 coach right here, boys. And look at all the cupcakes he's played too. He's elite.
Take out that one in there that's 5-6, where every game was the SEC outside of one. And again, you've done this for COVID all the time. You just eliminate COVID seasons. So I'm just going to eliminate COVID season as well. 7 straight winning records at Kentucky. 7 straight winning seasons at programs like Kentucky that is almost the ceiling. That's especially 2 of them with 10 wins. No one else has accomplished this, man. No one else has accomplished it.
Maybe we need to pay him more.
That I don't agree with.
He's average. I mean, that's not bad. That doesn't mean average is not bad.
It's significantly better than average.
I graduated
6 and 6 is average
with average grades. You can get by with it. Trust me.
6 and 6 is average. He's had a winning record, so better than average at Kentucky, a program that has not really ever accomplished anything. That's the difference. Now, I agree with you on the salary. They gave him too much money. I agree with you on that. But you know what? That's Kentucky's problem. It's not anybody else's problem. The same thing with Tennessee. This conversation about Tennessee and Josh Heupel is asinine to me. Oh, where'd your camera go, big guy? This conversation about Josh Heupel in Tennessee is absurd. It's absurd to me. They're going to beat Vanderbilt pretty easily, pretty heavily. They're going to destroy Vanderbilt. And this conversation about Nico, why isn't Nico better than Joe Milton? What? A true freshman is not supposed to be better than a 6-year player right away. It happens gradually over the first year. Tua Tagovailoa didn't start as a true freshman. Bryce Young didn't start as a true freshman. Trevor Lawrence took half a season to start as a true freshman. Joe Burrow couldn't start at Ohio State. Like these great coaches or these great quarterbacks take time. Here's what I will say though, Mike, and I want your opinion on this.
Sorry, I had to turn off my camera. All these the Stoops garbage talk.
It's okay. It's all right. You'll be fine, big guy. You'll be fine. All these Kentucky Wildcat winning seasons. Here's what I will say about Josh Heupel. Nico needs to get lots of reps against Vanderbilt. And in the bowl game, next year is his time to be the starting quarterback. Now that sort of the season has been defined and you're done with your big games and you should beat Vanderbilt with like you and I playing quarterback. This is the week you need to get Nico some reps. Joe Milton starts, senior day, all that stuff. But Nico needs reps this week, and he needs reps in the practice, and he needs reps in the bowl game. So this is the week. If he doesn't play Nico this week, then I think I can be like, hey, dude, are you trying to build for next year or what?
Can we hire Jimbo to be the offensive coordinator up there? We got to fix this offense. No. It's awful.
Yeah, hire the guy who can't coach. That sounds like a plan.
Now, what is the question? Should Nico play? I mean, I think, I don't know. Does it matter against Vanderbilt?
The question is, no, it doesn't. The question is, why is it hard to understand that there's a gap between Milton and Nico when Nico is a true freshman and that he was not better than what Joe Milton gave him this year? Nico was not going to beat Georgia. He was not going to beat Alabama on the road. To me, I don't understand. Josh Heupel did a pretty good job of like evolving the offense as the season went along to adapt to what he had. Now that the season is defined, they've lost all the best teams on their schedule, and they're going to play Vanderbilt in the bowl. Now the time to build for the future, which is get your freshman quarterback ready for his sophomore season. Or I guess maybe redshirt.
What if Nico scores like 6 touchdowns this week? Would you amend your statement that they
no
could not beat Georgia with him?
No. But wouldn't you be super excited about next year though?
I sure as hell would. Because other than that 75-yard run,
stupid.
they didn't do anything.
Yeah, Georgia's the best team in the country. A true freshman is not going to come off the bench.
How about Missouri? I just watched Florida go up and down the field on them. Couldn't do shit on Missouri either.
The way they ran the football, Florida ran the football. That had nothing to do with quarterback.
Florida, I've seen teams go up and down the field on Florida. They couldn't do shit on them either.
I mean, what are you trying to get me to say? Like they shit down their leg against Florida and got beat at the line of scrimmage. That the quarterback
every meaningful game, Braden, they shit the bed on offense.
So
even A&M, and they only won it because they had a punt return. I mean, am I wrong?
No, they ran the ball pretty well in that game, but I agree. They didn't. I think
but that's got nothing to do with Milton.
I think again, it's the exact same thing with Kentucky. I think Tennessee fans, to be in a rebuilding year, in year 3 of a new coach after 15 years of garbage football, to be complaining about a chance at 9 wins is dumb shit. It's dumb shit.
I'm sorry, we have high standards, Braden.
A rebuilding year and building for next season and a chance to win the division next year. That's the whole point.
Right.
You're a victim of your own success last year to some degree because Hendon Hooker was spectacular. You had 2 NFL receivers. I don't know how many times you got like. College football is not linear, boys. It doesn't. It just you don't always just go up.
There was a lot of overthrows. A lot of overthrows that I saw.
Yeah, Joe Milton's not a great quarterback. He's an average quarterback, as I've said to you all season long. It doesn't mean Nico is going to be any better because you have to learn how to be a starting quarterback.
You know what's funny? Everybody wants to talk about Milton and Nico and all this. I'm just giving you a hard time. I really don't care. The thing that concerns me is the offensive line and the receivers. And why is there zero depth in year 3? Now, maybe that's because so many guys transferred out. They've been dealing with, it's been minimal, but still scholarship reductions. I think that is a question that needs to be addressed in the offseason. How can we get to a place where if we lose an offensive lineman, you know, the entire offensive line is god awful. You know, if we lose a receiver, we got no options. You know what I mean? So
well, two NFL receivers leave, and your number 1 receiver is out in week 4? He got hurt in week 4, Brew McCoy. To me, if you take the top 3 players off anybody's roster from one year to the next, there is a natural regression. Also, Squirrel White's pretty good, so he's had a pretty good season. So again, and I think Junkyard nailed it. Heupel is UT's Mark Richt. I think that would be my concern. But you know what Mark Richt did? He won 2 SEC championships in like 10 games every year for like 12 years. So if that is what you're promising Tennessee fans, eventually that's not good enough. Tennessee wants to win national championships, just like Texas A&M and Auburn and everybody else. But like in year 3 of the rebuild, to take a step back from Hendon Hooker, the greatest season in school history, to lose to the team that might be the best team in all of college football, the national champs.
Missouri?
I mean, the Florida and the Missouri's it might be the best Missouri team ever.
Oh.
Ever.
No, I thought that you were saying they're going to be the champs.
But like context is important, and I understand fans get upset after losses, but like spoiled, dude. Kentucky fans spoiled. If you're asking for Mark Stoops to leave, you're spoiled. You're not going to hire a better coach than Mark Stoops. The statistical probability of you getting better than Josh Heupel or Mark Stoops right now at those 2 programs is stupid low. Stupid low. Yeah, exactly. And even you're coming around on Billy Napier actually at Florida. So
I love Billy. I hope they give him an extension.
Florida's teams are pretty well. They got some really savvy schematically on offense. They're very good. They just don't have enough dudes. But they ran the ball in Missouri. I give them a lot of credit. So,
but what happens if Nico scores like 8 touchdowns in the bowl game? Because I know you hate bowl games. I mean, are we even allowed to talk about it?
No, I love watching bowl games. I think the results don't mean anything. As Stephen Lasson said on your very show today, actually. The outcomes the rosters aren't real. You can play red shirts. Coaches are leaving the portal. Like players sit out. Like the Clemson or Tennessee game last year is no better example. Try to tell y'all Orange Bowl Joe is not who Joe Milton is. So there you go. Florida has no talent on defense.
He looks good in that game, though. I'll give him that.
He did, because Clemson never played any of their best defensive players, and Tennessee didn't have a couple of their receivers. It's an exhibition game. It's not a real game.
I wish Georgia didn't play any of their best defensive players.
Yeah, well, that's not what happens when you're that good. Let's go to the Florida State game, because Florida State, without their starting quarterback Jordan Travis, Florida without their starting quarterback in Graham Mertz, but this is only a 6.5-point spread, and absolutely I think Florida can win this game and can beat Florida State and knock them out of the playoff. And if you're talking narrative, this type of win changes the entire offseason conversation for Florida.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know enough about Florida State. I just watched them destroy LSU, obviously, but yeah, it's going to be tough going into the Swamp. I like Florida. How about that? Is that too bold? Too bold to like Florida the way they've been playing against Missouri and
not at
LSU? All. I mean, had they not been playing Jaden Daniels, I mean, that's easy to say, but anyone less than Jaden Daniels, if Joe Milton was LSU's quarterback, they would have beat LSU that night. If not for Missouri. And here's something else I said. I can't remember where or when or why, but Florida just seems like a team that at this point kind of expects to lose. Missouri expects to win. And I think that was a different Saturday night. So, eventually you got to learn that, but maybe that comes this Saturday against a rival that, imagine this backup for Florida State makes a key turnover early. Yeah. Maybe that gets in his head. I don't know.
He's held on the ball. Like he's fine for Florida State. Their backup. He's got a little bit of experience. I think if Graham Mertz was playing in this game, I would absolutely pick Florida. I think Florida is going to play very well in this game, though, because I think it's natural for the Florida State players to look around and see their season. And Cardell Jones is not walking through that door. Like you cannot lose your Heisman caliber-ish whatever quarterback the week before and expect to win. Ohio State's like the only team that's ever done that. They lost JT Barrett. Cardell Jones comes in and they go on that crazy run. I think Florida's game plan will be excellent on offense. My concern is maybe the defensive side of the ball. Like, can they match up with some of those weapons? Keon Coleman down the field, Johnny Wilson, like those are big time. Yeah, dogs.
What is Florida State good at? Because again, I'm kind of ignorant on them.
They go down the field really well. Two really great receivers. We just don't know what they are without Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis is one of the best deep ball throwers, and he's out of the game, so we don't know what they're going to be. I also think Florida State's a little like they haven't found their top like gear yet all season, and now it's impossible to find that. And whereas Florida's desperate, Florida's at home. I wish Graham Mertz was playing in this game because I think it would be an automatic upset pick for Florida. I think what's going to happen is Max Brown's the starter, right? He played pretty well in that game. Here's the thing about Florida, though, guys. If they had not given up that one drive to Missouri, look who their wins would have been. I mean, like, you beat Tennessee, you beat South Carolina, you almost beat Missouri. Like, you basically, third place outside of the Kentucky loss. You beat Vanderbilt. You were one play away from, winning 4 games in the division.
Let's say, this is kind of sad. This is the saddest question I've ever asked, Braden. But let's say they go into overtime and they lose to Florida State. Heartbreaker, but they played their guts out. Would there ever have been a team coming off 5 losses in a row that you feel more confident about than Billy Napier's Gators had with a top 5 class and all that?
Yeah, I mean, they got to retain those players too. Some of those guys have defected from the recruiting class, but yeah, I think Richard actually nails this. Florida is where Mizzou was last year. I might put them 1 year behind that because I think they're 5-star kids coming in next year, right? The quarterback that they've got, he's like the number 1 player in the country, and maybe next year he's the freshman, and then the year after that is Missouri. So maybe they're Missouri next year from last year, if that makes any sense. I know that sounds complicated, but
I don't know. I don't agree with this take at all. I've seen this I think this is a popular one because Florida fans are sitting here trying to justify losing and like we got to be patient and all this. But key to Missouri, I mean, they were good on defense last year. They had to get the offense figured out. And how'd they do that? They hired an offensive coordinator. Is Billy Napier going to do that?
But the offense is not the problem, though.
Is Missouri? They were not a disaster on special teams like Florida.
He needs to hire a special teams coordinator for sure.
They have 11 Power 5 opponents next season, so I mean, I guess the argument is next year they're going to take off. I just don't see that with now. This quarterback looked really good. Max Brown hit. I thought. He
Yeah, no,
looked.
I agree. No, I agree.
And
I
they
agree.
got the 5-star coming in. Sort of. I mean, they're going to need a quarterback to break out. I don't know.
But the offense,
I don't like that comp.
But Napier's offense isn't the problem, though. 6.6 yards per play last year, 4th in the SEC. I think they're 7th in the SEC this year, but 6.3 yards per play. Like they're upper half on offense. It's the defense that it's Austin Armstrong, the youngest defensive coordinator in Power 5 football, that has to be better. But honestly, I think that comes with recruiting. Like I think they need players. I don't think they got the dudes on the defense. And so I think what Eli did at Missouri, again, he had 3 straight years of 500 football before he broke out. So I think, Billy's at 2. At Florida, you don't get the 3rd one the way you do at Missouri. There's no question about that. Expectations are much higher. But this team, to your point, I'm not optimistic that they like win 9 games next year. But man, they played, like you said, they're playing decent enough football to be competitive with some certain people. So if they win this game, it changes the entire offseason narrative for Billy Napier. It's upset a top 5 undefeated team, beat our rival at home. We're recruiting really well, got to another bowl game, extra practice time, ahead of schedule. 5.5 was their win total this year for Vegas. So they would have hit the over on that. But you know me, I'm higher on Napier than you probably are. So it doesn't mean he's going to, be the head coach there for 20 years.
30 years?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Bama playoffs, Florida State playoffs, Louisville playoffs all could get ruined. How about the Heisman Trophy getting ruined? Jaden Daniels has a really good shot to win the Heisman Trophy this year, and they're going to host Texas A&M. They're 11.5 point favorite. But 8 touchdowns last week and 600 yards the week before that. And clearly Brian Kelly is trying to win the Heisman Trophy. There is no question about that. And I got nothing but respect for a coach doing that with a great player like Jaden Daniels. He also wasn't really all that great in the 2 most important games of the year, Florida State and Alabama. But he's probably deserving of the award if he wins it. I got no problem. As a voter, I can't tell you who I'm voting for, but he'd be one of my top 3.
Let me ask you this.
Can Texas A&M take it away from him, though? That's my question.
Wait, I got a better one.
Oh, shut up.
If he didn't get knocked out against Alabama and he dominated the 4th quarter and they won that game, would we even be debating this?
No, we probably wouldn't.
Yeah. I just figured.
That's not a better question. That's an obvious, stupid question. But
well, we got to, I mean, it's not fair that they knocked his ass out. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure. You know what? And if my aunt had uncles, my aunt had uncle.
I'm just
if
saying.
My aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Like the world is not fair. Like I don't know what you want me to say. I wish he wasn't knocked out. I agree with you. And now what? Now what do we say? They were down by 2 touchdowns when he got knocked out. So it wasn't,
but he could have dominated. I'm just saying. That would have been great.
Maybe
we were robbed that opportunity.
I don't disagree with you, but can A&M steal it from him?
Yeah, of course. Because I think he has to have and it's kind of pathetic, but it's almost like you hope his defense sucks too. So it's like a back and forth, and every time, maybe he gets like 10 opportunities to score touchdowns, whereas if it's like 38-10, I don't think that's going to impress anybody. So yeah. I'll tell you who I've been impressed with is Jalen Henderson, his quarterback for A&M. Yeah, now,
it's been fun.
Look at their schedule though. It's awful. Mississippi State and Abilene, but he's brought
South Carolina at home.
Well, he didn't play against them, did he?
No. I just mean that they've won 3 out of 4.
Right.
And to your point, because of the schedule.
Right. But so maybe I'm overrating him, but that could be a really fun matchup. I believe it's an early game. Unfortunately, I wish it was another night game, but maybe that helps A&M too. Yeah, it's kind of funny how they're. I don't mind Brian Kelly. I don't mind LSU kind of like doing the campaign, but I wonder if anybody gets bothered by it. They're clearly force feeding him and trying to pad his stats.
I don't know. Voters don't care about that.
I kind of care about that. And
what do you mean?
I just see it from like their media people, and they're like,
you mean like how Tennessee did with Peyton in '96?
Jaden Daniels got more 20-yard plays than 87 teams.
Every team in America does that.
Yeah, but so
Bo Nix has had banners in Times Square for 2 years. Every team. So
it's like fuck his linemen, fuck his receivers that are amazing. Like what are we doing here? This is a team game. This is not.
Oh my God, you sound like my grandfather. What are you
I just hate
talking
that.
about?
Like, why do we have to? Why can't we just say LSU's got more than anybody? And who's? I mean, obviously,
Because they're trying to win a Heisman Trophy. What's your problem? Why are you yelling at kids for having fun?
it's not
I
the
don't
kids.
understand.
I'm yelling at the media people for just shitting
Those are
on,
those
and
are
not, they're shitting on
those
his
are
teammates.
25-year-olds.
They're
Those are
shitting on his
25-year-olds.
teams. They're his linemen, his receivers, his
I
tight ends,
cannot.
his running
So
backs.
the LSU, the people who work for LSU and run their media, so like run the Twitter
Well,
account,
not
the
even
Instagram
those people,
account,
but they run like
they're
Baton Rouge, ESPN, and
they're
all those people
shitting.
on
They're
and on.
shitting on the offensive line and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. They're shitting on them. That's what you think they're doing by promoting Jaden Daniels
They're totally
for Heisman?
discrediting all those guys. Yeah,
No, they're not.
I feel like they are.
God, you sound like my great grandfather. No, your job working for a university, number one, is to promote your people. I got no problem with Brian
But
Kelly
they're not. They're promoting
trying to
one,
win a Heisman
not
Trophy.
people, person.
You know
not
who else
people.
is rooting for him to win the Heisman Trophy? His offensive line and his receivers. God, that's one of the worst takes I've ever heard. Upset with the no one is shitting on Malik Neighbors. Nobody. I
think he should be the Blitnikoff winner.
I vote for the Blitnikoff, and he's in the top 3.
Let's
he's
get
going
him
to be
a campaign going.
He's going to be in the top 3, and I bet you their Twitter account tweets out how great he's been too. What are you talking about?
Let's get the Joe Moore Award hype train going. They all deserve praise.
Okay, great.
That's my argument.
You're gonna give. Where's the participation trophies for Kentucky and Tennessee, big guy? Come on now.
They're not excelling. I mean, it's a team sport.
They're going to have the same. Tennessee's going to have virtually the identical record to that of LSU.
Are they? Well, that's because defense is. Well, no, I mean not. No,
what are you talking about?
Tennessee doesn't have a good win. At least LSU won at Missouri, and they would have beat Bama if they didn't knock out their quarterback. And they're going to beat A&M here in a minute. I don't like praising one guy.
Promoting a player to win a Heisman?
Well, if you're discrediting all the rest of the pieces,
What? So did you say all this stuff about Hendon Hooker last year? Did you say all this stuff about that? Did you say all this stuff about Tennessee promoting Hendon Hooker to win the Heisman? Did you say all this about, I can't believe how disrespectful they are to Jalen Hyatt? Unbelievable. Darnell Wright, unbelievable.
I don't think I ever.
They're just talking shit about Darnell Wright by promoting Hendon Hooker. Unbelievable.
I don't know that I saw any of this. Like, they didn't try to get Hendon Hooker 8 touchdowns versus. I'm trying to think of the shitty teams they played, but
no, they didn't have
to. They just do it on their own,
Well, LSU's defense is naturally allowing Jaden Daniels lots of opportunities. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right here. Heupel's offense promoted Hooker. I mean, we didn't need all this garbage,
Dude, the revisionist history on you sometimes is absurd. Like Tennessee, every weekend they're tweeting out the slow-mo video of Hendon Hooker dropping a bomb in the basket and all that stuff. By the way, I voted for Hendon Hooker in the top 3 in the Heisman because that's the right order. The right order was Caleb Williams 1, Hendon Hooker 2, Bryce Young 3. That was the correct order for a Heisman Trophy, and that's what my ballot was last year.
No Stetson?
No.
How did he get to the Heisman? That's crazy.
He's a pretty damn good player, though. But
I mean, he wasn't the best player on his team. He wasn't the best player on his side of the football. This Heisman's crazy. The Heisman's stupid. Isn't it?
You're such a grumpy old man today.
I just think it's stupid.
You're leaving East Tennessee like tomorrow. You should be happy.
Oh yeah, I'm getting fired up.
Quickly, I want to talk other couple of spoilers here because I don't think here's the thing about LSU. Like, I think Jaden Daniels has it won right now by a really slim margin. If Bo Nix, here's the thing: if Bo Nix beats Oregon State this weekend in the huge rivalry game, and they get into the Pac-12 championship game, and they beat Washington to get into the playoff, and Bo Nix has virtually identical statistics, it is going to be hard to beat Bo Nix. That's the name I would keep an eye on. If Marvin Harrison goes off against Michigan and beats America's team by beating Jim Harbaugh in Ann Arbor, and they go undefeated and get into the playoff, Marvin Harrison's the other one that I think could beat him. Those are the two. Michael Penix, maybe at Washington, might be able to beat him. I think we are going to have one of the closest votes we've seen in a long time. Because I think it's Daniels, Nix, Penix, and Harrison. I think those 4 are going to eat up a lot of equal votes in the region. And so I think the the Pac-12 championship game is going to decide who of those two guys comes out of there as the guy competing with Jaden Daniels for the award. Right now, I think Daniels wins it, but the other guys have done it in bigger games. So that's the argument. I'm not saying I agree with that argument, but that's the argument. So is he talking about you?
No, he's talking about Stetson, and he's a Georgia fan, so
that's true.
He's allowed to say it. I'm not saying it, but he did.
Hang on, Bo. What? And he will. What was Bo talking about here? Put it in the bank. Hang on. The Heisman is indeed I will say this about the Heisman to I don't know how to say your name, you Noel's name there. It's not a stupid award. It is still the most important individual award in all of sports, and I take voting for it extremely seriously. The problem is I just don't think enough other players get enough credit. I voted for.
Wait, are we saying the same damn thing?
Not to kind of, but like, I don't know. Like as a kid growing up, I just thought it was such an amazing thing, and then have the opportunity to get to vote for it. I take it very seriously. So I have like, I make sure I put somebody not obscure, but like I try to not make it all quarterbacks. Last year it happened to be all quarterbacks because I thought the three most important players were quarterbacks.
Yeah,
but I try not to do that. Right now, I might vote for a wide receiver, number one, but there's an offensive lineman for Oregon State that deserves recognition. You know what I mean? Like, I wish the award was
Bowers.
I was going to vote for Brock.
He didn't get hurt.
I was going to vote for Brock Bowers before he got hurt. So I think going outside of just the best quarterbacks in the country is the right thing to do. But also, quarterbacks are by far the most important players on the team. So it's hard. It's like
thicker kicker. I mean, he started the run there at Missouri.
Yeah,
beating Kansas State.
It was all him. Anyway, I think right now Daniels has it. I think if A&M's defense shuts him down and they lose a game they're not supposed to as an 11-point favorite at home, I think what's happening is voters are looking for like the opening to vote for one of the other guys. I think, if I had to guess, but that's kind of where. What
about Carson Beck? That's what Michael Kelly wants to know. Is it too late?
No, I've talked to a lot of voters who are. Most people are undecided right now.
6 touchdowns against Bama. Does he win it?
Well, I got Bama +4 already.
I'm saying if he has 6 touchdowns against Bama, is he?
He doesn't. I don't think he can win it, but I think he can become a finalist. I think he can be. I think he could be in New York as a finalist, but I don't.
Yeah,
think
why
he can
can't
win
a kicker? Come on, thicker kicker, baby.
Sure, I vote for the Groza Award, and Mevis is not one of the top 3 kickers in America. So,
he's number 1 in my heart.
Yeah, that's fine. Any room for Mark Stoops and Josh Heupel in there? Or no. What about Shane Beamer? South Carolina +7 points at home against Clemson. Terrible, terrible, terrible matchup for strength of South Carolina. But man, 2 straight. You talk about changing the narrative of what if I'm selling stuff on the recruiting trail. If I'm Shane Beamer, if I can beat Clemson twice, get to 3 straight bowls to start my career at South Carolina, show everybody a quarterback and probably a future NFL star in Xavier Legette, and you can beat Clemson at home against the team that is, I think Clemson's starting 22, maybe they're 2 deep, is significantly better. But if you can beat Clemson twice in 3 years, you can point to the demise of Clemson in state and recruit your ass off against Clemson. Cannot think of a more important game this weekend than for South Carolina to play well against Clemson in this game. There is nothing about this matchup that says they should win, but something tells me they're going to play well in this game.
How much heat's Beamer going to take if they lose, though?
Why would he? I mean, he put a lot of equity in the bank the last 2 years. He overachieved 2 straight seasons. I know that you're like a prisoner of every moment in the world, but like context is important. The guy's first 2 seasons were way better than anybody expected. And right now they're right where we
cares, man. No one cares about what you did 2 years ago. They just care about what you're doing moving forward. And how's this going to look without Legette and Spencer Rattler? Juice Wells coming back, though. That's good.
I think that's a major question.
But
which is what makes this game very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a long off season if they lose to Clemson after beating them on the road last year.
They need something special to happen.
I think you're underestimating the South Carolina fan base.
Not at all. I think that's how they win.
No, I'm saying they'll turn.
Oh, you mean
They turn on you
you,
quick. I mean,
you mean they're crazy? Oh no, I'm not underestimating that.
they
They're crazy.
demand excellence. You know,
They are.
uh,
They've been demanding excellence since 1933, and it ain't never happened. So
right, but they can still demand it, and they shall. If I mean, this has got to be the worst Clemson, right? In how long?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've got a chance to go 7. If they win this game, South Carolina 6-6, Clemson 7-5, with 2 straight wins head to head, and that is how you build a recruiting base in the state of South Carolina. That's how you have to chip away at Dabo's stranglehold on some of those recruits and some of those high schools, and that is how you do it.
Right.
You go to a parent and you go to a coach and you say, look, we're trending upward. We've beaten them twice in a row. We're in the better conference. The ACC is failing. Dabo's lost his mind. Come to South Carolina instead. And that is what this game is all about. If I'm analyzing it from a future narrative standpoint, is spoil Clemson, continue to show that Clemson is trending in the wrong direction, continue to show that Dabo can't evolve, and show people, hey, look, when our back was against the wall when we were 2-6, right? And then win 4 straight and beat some teams we probably shouldn't and end up in a bowl game. There's some proof of concept there when it comes to like leadership and motivation. And I know the schedule is what it is. But
who do we beat that we shouldn't? Kentucky?
Clemson. So they were an underdog.
Gotcha.
They were an underdog at home against Kentucky. But
I'm saying up to this point.
No, it's Kentucky and Clemson. They're underdogs. They were underdogs in both those games. So, but I just think we knew the schedule was front loaded, and they had a lot of really difficult games in the front, and gave up a lot of points, and their defensive and offensive lines are a question, and he's got to recruit to replace Rattler and Leggett. But you can do that a lot easier when you could point to 2 straight wins against your arch rival in state. So,
do you is Shane Beamer under the most pressure of any SEC coach this weekend? Do you think, for all those reasons? Because you're right. If they win, it's going to be huge.
I think he's got a little equity. It's kind of like Napier and Beamer are kind of the same with Mark Stoops. I think they're all kind of in the same boat of like a loss sends a really bad signal to the offseason, but a win could change the entire structure of the season and what we talk about. No, because how much pressure is Sam Pittman under to win at home as a 7.5-point dog against Missouri? I don't know. You could then ask the question of Lane Kiffin. If Lane Kiffin loses on the road to an interim coach in the Egg Bowl, that's bad. That's a bad look when you're trying to have one of your best seasons in history. Again, Ole Miss has only had 3 10-win seasons in the history of its program. Only one, I believe, this will be their 4th 10-win season since integration. Obviously, they had Matt Corral a couple of years ago. If Missouri and Ole Miss lose, I think it taints 2 really historic seasons. If they win, then I think you can say, look, we can make the playoffs. Look what we did. We can get to 10-2. This would be Lane Kiffin's second 10-win season in like 4 years. So I think those are huge. I think there's some pressure on Drinkwitz and Kiffin to win, not because firing or anything. I just think doesn't 10-2 just feel so much better than 9-3, you know?
Yeah, that's what I like about this weekend. You can make a case for almost all these coaches.
Who plays spoiler of all these teams? I think Kentucky can win outright on the road. I'm not going to pick it, but I think they could. I think Florida can win outright at home. I'm not buying South Carolina. I think the matchup is really bad for them in that game. Clemson likes to run the football, and they stop the run. That's been bad for South Carolina.
Yeah, I think I think it's Florida. I think that's the ultimate one. Ultimate spoiler.
You think both Missouri and Ole Miss win on the road?
Maybe.
How you feel about Pittman coming back? Right decision for Arkansas?
I don't know. I'm not ready to go that far. Not ready to go that far.
You would have fired him already? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I did. I said that on Feinbaum show the other day.
Yeah.
I was surprised they didn't.
I'm surprised they didn't either. I think it's the whole like people really like being around him. People like playing for him. People like working for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you have that type of when you're coach dad like Josh Heupel, I think it makes it a lot easier to sort of suck it up and say, all right, let's be conservative about this and give him one more year. Give him a chance to fix the offense, hire a coordinator, whatever.
They have a ton of guys that could return for another year or could move on. I would have to think some conversations were had too. Specifically
with KJ?
Yeah, specifically with him. Just,
I'll come back if you keep Sam around.
Or, maybe not even that bold, but just like, would you come back if he's not the coach? No. But, maybe
guaranteed to be gone. Yeah.
Right. Things of that nature. So I have to assume things like that taking place. So it's easy to sit here and say, what the hell? I mean, I'm seeing in these comments, they're like, look at his record, this, that, and the other. Well, Arkansas, I get it. I mean, they had KJ, they got Rocket, but their roster is 6th best in the West.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
The players, the players.
No, I agree.
Get you Kirby Smart today, and they probably be better this year, but they were not going to win the West, even if damn Kirby Smart's their coach. Until he had time to build it up, and I hate to say it, but Arkansas is in such a position, just with the in-state talent, with the geography, it's
got to dominate. It's got to go into Texas. They have to win a lot of battles in Texas. And actually, this is where Texas and Oklahoma joining the conference in a weird way actually helps them because they can go into Texas a little bit more forcefully and recruit. Junkyard says it's hard to hire at Arkansas. And you and I have debated this with Mississippi State. Arkansas is a better job than Mississippi State. It just is. Not by much, but it is. Arkansas is almost a top 25 job nationally. And so I don't – A&M is clearly better than both of those jobs. A&M should be shooting for a bigger target. And Bo says, how do you feel about Ryan Day to A&M? It is not happening. It's not going to happen. Ryan Day is not leaving the best job maybe in all of college football to go to one of the most complicated and bizarre jobs in all of college football. If Ryan Day leaves, he's going to the NFL. Ryan Day is not – I've talked to plenty of people around that program. There is a 0% chance Ryan Day is leaving Ohio State for a lesser job.
Let me ask you this, though, because I'm not done with Arkansas, sir.
All right, let's go back to Arkansas.
But,
sir,
based on what you know, because I'm just curious, because this is like cloak and dagger shit. So I'm kind of curious to hear what you have to say. But given the relationship with Jimmy Sexton and Hunter Yurachek, which is not good, does that factor in a decision? Because
you want to go full cloak and dagger?
I don't think. I basically think if you fire Sam Pittman, Jimmy Sexton closes the door to you.
So
and that eliminates about 80% of coaches, whether people realize that or not.
It's not that. So here's what's interesting. There's 3 agencies that basically run every coach, assistant and head coach. There's 3. Jimmy Sexton's number 1 right-hand man, his consigliere, left and is now working for a competitor, which means he brings his coaching agent roster with him. So my point, I say all of that to say that Jimmy Sexton's that number, you need to drop that number way down now. He's still the biggest power broker. There's no question that Sexton is still in charge of the most amount of these things. But the search firms all summer long go through and they organize all their lists. They organize who their pecking order of guys are going to be. Then the search firms have relationships with the board of directors and the athletic directors and the presidents, and they've been in these guys' ears the entire summer, all since June and July. There's been 3 search firms that have been in Hunter Yurachek's ear the entire year, saying, here are the 4 or 5 best candidates for your job. And that's happened at Mississippi State. That's happened at A&M. It happens at every school. It's not new. But the fact that Sexton has recently lost somebody from, I think it's CAA, right? He's lost somebody from CAA to go to somewhere else. That does open it up a little bit. He's not as much of a puppeteer. He's still the biggest force in all of this. But it does change the dynamics to some degree. I think your first answer is more on, like, if we want KJ Jefferson back and we want all these other guys to come back and we want to try to compete next year, we're in a better spot to have Sam Pittman in place to recruit one more year. Let's get all of our back end organized and get those search firms organized and start finding. And then let's go into the next cycle with, hey, Sam Pittman saved the team, or, hey, we've got to fire him pretty early and we're going to be the first one into the cycle next year. And we will have already had some of these conversations this year. So, and long pole legend says Rocket Sanders played in like 4 games this year. I think that's certainly a part of it. But fixing the offensive line is the key. You need an offensive coordinator and an offensive line, and frankly, Sam Pittman should be able to do one of those two things. So there we go. So I'm with you. I'm surprised they didn't fire him. I don't think, honestly, I think it's a decent time to hire a coach because there's not a whole lot of those jobs like Arkansas is not going to compete with a lot of people right now to hire a coach because Texas A&M is at the top of the list. But right now, I could argue Arkansas is the next best job that's available.
Better than UCLA? You said they're firing.
I think I would rather coach at Arkansas than UCLA. SEC jobs and Big Ten jobs are extremely rare, and UCLA is financially just not in the same place as most Big Ten or SEC jobs. The fan base isn't there. I mean, it's a good recruiting base. It's better recruiting than Arkansas, but it's not better. I would take the Arkansas job over UCLA. I would take Arkansas over Michigan State.
Interesting.
I think Arkansas is slightly better than Mississippi State. But if all of a sudden, like Kirk Ferentz retires and the Iowa job's open, and then Kyle Whittingham retires and the Utah job's open, or Dan Lanning leaves Oregon and he goes to Texas A&M, all of a sudden you've got a few other jobs that might be better than Arkansas, and then you might be like, oh, okay, this is more complicated now.
I was asked if Kyle Whittingham would go to Mississippi State. What's your thoughts on that?
No chance.
I was asked that. I mean, come on, man.
He's won back-to-back Pac-12 championships. Why would he go to the toughest job? There are plenty of guys who would do that, though, to go to Mississippi State. I think there's plenty of guys because there's only 14 jobs, soon to be 16 in the SEC. Those are a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best conference in America, and every coach under the sun thinks they can win the Natty, no matter where they're coaching.
Mm-hmm.
they all think they can. And Dabo, I don't like. Here's the thing: if I'm an A&M fan, like I don't want Dabo. Dabo has not shown the ability to evolve at all in the modern landscape of college football.
That was another one where when he started all that, they asked him about that, I think, and he's like, I'm focused on us or something like that, but he didn't say no. And I said,
he needs to focus harder.
I said Dabo to Mississippi State, and a bunch of their fans were like, don't want him. Like, what?
Mississippi State?
They want the best, Braden. They don't want they don't want has-beens.
That's fucking stupid. If you're Mississippi State, you take Dabo in 2 seconds. But of course, that's like, oh man, I bet you Arkansas. Let's fire Sam Pittman. Let's go get Saban. Let's go get him.
Got to make a call,
Yeah. Got to make Nick Saban say no.
You must. I mean, you're not doing your job if you don't.
I think Kentucky should move on from Stoops and force Kirby Smart to say no to the job.
That'd be a good one.
Give me a break. I'm telling you right now, I think I said it last week on the show, the new Texas A&M head coach is going to be someone completely off the radar. It is going to be a name that no one has talked about. I promise you.
Dan Campbell.
We've talked about him now, so now it's not going to be him.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's
the Titans coach. Is he about to get fired?
No, he's about to get traded to the Patriots for like 2 first-round draft picks.
Oh, okay.
And if he goes to college, it's because Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, has taken the Patriots job or the Bears job. Bears is actually
A&M. John Gruden.
He's going to take the Bears job, and then Vrabel's going to take the Ohio State job.
They want to know, is Urban Meyer coaching in college again?
I don't see how he says no unless there's so much baggage that like legally he's not allowed.
UCLA, if they fire their coach, would he go there?
I don't know why he'd go to UCLA. UCLA is not a job. It's harder than people think. Like financially, they're in trouble. The fans are not great. The stadium's 45 minutes away. Like it's not a traditional. It's kind of like Miami, like great recruiting base, but like doesn't have a lot of the other stuff you need to win in 2023. If that makes sense.
I hear you.
Ryan Day's not getting fired. Have you guys seen Ryan Day's record? Like, I know you don't watch anything outside of the SEC.
Smoked by Michigan, you don't think he'll get fired?
His record is like 52-6.
It ain't cutting it.
Crazy.
Is he scheduled like Mark Stoops at Kentucky? What's up with that?
No, he's at the premier, maybe the best job in America, the easiest place to win.
Okay,
which means he's not leaving for Texas A&M. Isn't
it funny that? I mean, he damn near won the national championship last year, right? But
yeah, I mean, there was one couple plays away. Yeah,
but he lost to Michigan twice in a row, right? So it's like fans are kind of like 50-50 on him. Imagine
No,
imagine that is your life. I was like
it's
one play away from winning it all, or one play away from being on the hot seat.
yeah,
Just
it's
imagine.
pretty easy to imagine the $9 million paycheck, Mike. I just
That's crazy. I couldn't imagine that.
don't give a shit. Like you chose it. You don't want to make $9 million to be the Ohio State coach? Go do something else. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, if they fire him,
I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for these guys for 1 second. Don't feel bad.
well, it's not feeling bad either, and it's not about the paycheck. It's just, could you imagine being at a job where, I mean,
That's really hard.
that's like being sitting on a knife. Like you can go either way. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
you almost won the national championship, and you're one more embarrassing loss away from getting fired.
Ooh, this is a great question. Is Arkansas? I agree. It's a tough job to have. Okay. Well,
That's just wild to think about. I'm just trying to think of if that's ever happened
so
in
is
the SEC.
but so is every single Air Force pilot fighting in a war. Like I don't like these. Like I don't understand. I just don't. Of all the humans that have really high pressure, difficult jobs, college football coaches are not the ones I'm worried about. Yes, you
Well, again,
take the Ohio.
I'm not. See, I think we're talking about different. I'm not even talking about pressure. I'm just talking about how wild is that? Even that statement. We damn near won the national championship.
Welcome to college football.
Some people want to run him off.
And they played in the Natty in 2020. Welcome to college football, baby. Big time college football.
Well, they got embarrassed in that one, didn't
Jimbo
they?
Fisher failed miserably and got paid $75 million. I just, what a tough life. I do want to say, is Arkansas even a top 25 job right now? I think it's fringe. I think it's like right there with like, UCLA, Wisconsin, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, NC State, North Carolina. There's a handful of jobs that are all kind of right there that are clearly not national championship jobs, but are right there. Is Arkansas a top 10 job in the SEC? It is absolutely right now. Right now, it's a top 10 job in the SEC. So it's number 8, in my opinion. South Carolina's number 9. But when Texas and Oklahoma join, it gets knocked down 2 spots, I would say.
Did you see this little thing I tweeted out here about coaches being born on third base? Did you happen to see that?
Are you talking about Shane Beamer?
Well, no. This guy, shout out Bud Davis, PhD. He does analytics, things of that nature, and he just posted this graph essentially of all these coaches where the talent was when they inherited the team. And at the very, very, very top is Ryan Day.
Oh, yeah.
And then Edo Ogeron's right next to him.
That sounds right.
But the whole point that I'm trying to make is whoever A&M hires, they're going to be right there, smack dab, right below Ryan Day and right below Coach O. Coach O obviously won the national championship. But the whole reason I'm asking you this, if they nail the hire, and it doesn't mean that they got to get Dabo or Ryan Day or a name everybody knows. Let's say they hire Jed Fish and say nobody knows
that. Just say Jeff Traylor because he's the only name that's actually been linked to the job.
Okay.
And he's done a very good job at UTSA. He's a culture builder. I think your ultimate point, I think what you're making is completely correct, that Texas A&M is in a better situation to succeed right away than almost any other job that I can remember in the modern SEC. I think Georgia.
Yeah, well, this says since 2015.
Yeah, I think when Kirby Smart took over Georgia, they were pretty well positioned to be very good quickly because Mark Richt always had a pretty good roster.
Right, so that he's not far off, but apparently, according to this, A&M's it would be in an even better spot.
I don't disagree.
So, but my question to you is, whoever it is, I don't care. The name is irrelevant. If they land an A to A+ coach, which they should have the resources to get, if they can get that guy to take the position, is Texas A&M a national championship contender next year?
Probably not in 1 year.
Barring a mass exodus of players.
Well, hopefully, I mean, if they hire the right coach, then yes, I think by year 2, in the first 2 years, you can be competing for the division. And if you're competing for the division, then you're competing for the SEC. And if you're competing for the SEC, you're competing for a playoff spot.
Well, there's no divisions anymore, right? So
that's good point. Sorry, if you are challenging for top 2 to a spot in the SEC championship game, which if you're 10-2, hypothetically, that puts you in the contention, right? That means you probably were 1 game away from either making the SEC championship game or missing out on it. And I completely agree that when Ryan Day got the Ohio State job and Coach O got the LSU job and Kirby Smart got the Georgia job, there are very few teams, very few programs in America, and this is the exact opposite of what happened to Billy Napier at Florida, and frankly, with Josh Heupel at Tennessee. There are very few places in America where a great coach could not, like, a great coach will win at Texas A&M quickly. It will not take long. That roster is in good shape. LSU
Right.
Coach O at LSU, great shape.
And
No question.
here, I just got it. This is the graph I was referencing here. It may be a little bit hard to see for the audience here, but the point being, I don't know. I just think if they get the right guy, they could be awesome.
It's not necessarily, and he's calling it born on third base, and there's a big chart right now that Mike's got up on the chart. It's more about just like program situation, like how well situated are you to compete. And I see a bunch of Oregons on there, for example, because they've had so many different coaches recently, and each one that's taken over has taken over like a pretty decent situation. Like I think it was Willie Taggart and then Mario Cristobal and now Dan Lanning, and they've recruited all pretty well at Oregon throughout that. And I think Texas A&M, like I'm assuming the Notre Dame on there is Marcus Freeman taking over for Brian Kelly. I'm assuming
we got Lincoln Riley at the very top here.
Lincoln Riley might be on there twice.
Yeah, that's
I bet he is.
This is Clay Hilton right here. This USC that's on third base, but
okay. So is Lincoln Riley on there from Oklahoma?
Yes, sir. At the on second base.
Brett Venables is the other one for sure. Took over really good. Yep, and then it looks like Sarkisian might be in there too. So, no, I think I mean, if the question is can Texas A&M win quickly with the right guy, I think the answer has always been yes. I think that's this is what's so important about Florida right now with Billy Napier. Like, where's Florida? Where's Billy Napier on that chart that you've got? Can you find him? Because I'm willing to bet you it's not anywhere close at the top, 15 or 20 or Billy. 25. I'm willing to bet you because that the state of that roster, the infrastructure, all that stuff, that's what takes time to build. Texas A&M's got all of that. They renovated the stadium. They spent $600 million. They got NIL.
He's born on second base. Better than Dan Mullen
at Mississippi.
At Florida.
Well, okay.
So he's right here. McElwain's the top Florida.
Oh God.
The low Florida is Dan Mullen, and then because it says those since 2015, so that this other Florida has got to be Billy Napier.
So there's two charts to the graph, right? This is great podcasting. There's inherited team talent composite and inherited, what's the other one? ELO rating. So there you go. So it's look.
I think that's how I found it because people were mad about there's no way Billy Napier got more than Dan Mullen.
Yeah. Mike Elko has been mentioned in the comments, and Mike Elko, what he had at Duke versus what he would take over at A&M is night and day. Now he had a quarterback. Riley Leonard was there, so
he'd have one at A&M too. He'd have a couple, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I tend to agree with you. We'll see what happens. Either way, happy Thanksgiving, everybody out there. I know you guys got a live show on Tuesday night, so make sure you check that out. You can, of course, get to 440 Sports over there on the YouTube page. Please give us a subscription. We've got game previews for most of these SEC games. We're going to throw those up this week, so we do that every single week. So please come check us out. Got some thoughts on some of these coaching hires as well over there. So give us a subscription. We'd appreciate it, and appreciate hanging out with you guys. All you guys in the comments. Happy Thanksgiving! It is the greatest single weekend of the year. You want to in a from Thursday to Sunday. It's the best. It's the best weekend of the entire calendar year. It's my favorite holiday. You know what's great about it? You get to. It's just family, food, and football. That's it. I don't have any obligations outside of just those things. That's the only things I got to worry about. My kids, food, and football. There's no distractions. There's nothing. This stuff we don't have to go do this or to go do that. There's no that. It's just drink, eat, and be merry and watch football. It's awesome. It's awesome. Greatest weekend of the year. Everybody enjoy it. Have a great weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving, Mike. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and welcome back, my man.
Yeah, I'll be going live after the Egg Bowl on Thursday. Who else is giving you that type of content? Going
live from Nashville, Tennessee, right?
Yes, sir. Going live on Friday after Missouri, Arkansas. Then we'll go live on Saturday too. So
I'm going to crash one of those. You know that, right? I'll be wasted on Saturday night, just like spamming your comments.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. But so it may be a holiday, but we'll still be delivering content for you guys.
Absolutely. All right, check it out. You guys know the deal on that SEC podcast, but come on over to 440 as well. For Mike, I am Braden. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a great weekend.